Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So it's Tuesday, which means it's time for our weekly tier list Tuesday. And 2 weeks ago, we tier listed every single team's forward core. Last week, we tier listed every single team's defense core. And today, we are tier listing every single team's goaltending tandem heading into the 2025-2026 season. When looking at this, I probably should have done this video before I did my top 10 goaltenders, which I did yesterday. So feel free to go check that out. But yeah, we are going to be tier listing the goalie tandems. Obviously, with this, the starter is going to matter a lot more than the backup, especially if it's a starter that consistently plays like 55 to 60 games. But the backup is still going to matter to a serious degree, especially with those teams with more equal splits. So yeah, great, good, solid, meh, bad. The standard tiers. Let's get into it. Up first, the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck, the heart-winning goaltender in the 2024-2025 season. Eric Comrie had a .914 last year, so he's also turning into one of the better backups in the NHL. They are pretty easily my number one goalie tandem. As of right now, Anaheim last season, you could argue that they were in great with the way that Lukáš Dáštal really broke out and Jonathan Gibson played with like a 9-11 last season. I think I might throw them all the way down to meh, considering the fact that they got rid of Gibson, which I perfectly understand doing it, considering his age. You wanted to give Dáštal more starts. But the backup is going to be either Petr Mrazek or Ville Husso. Mrazek had an 891 last year. Husso has just been god-awful the last 2 years. So I think Dáštal somewhere in my 11 through 20 top 20 goalies in the NHL. But the backup is looking pretty bad. Mrazek has been good in prior seasons, but he's getting up there in age. So yeah, I think that they're in meh. Buffalo, I think I'm also going to throw in meh. UPL has last season was not able to replicate the success that he had at the end of the 2023-2024 season when he basically like single-handedly almost got the Sabres back into the playoff picture. So UPL's a starter. They have Reimer. They have Alex Lyon, but that doesn't really move me a lot. UPL's not a top 20 guy for me right now. So I think it's meh. It's definitely closer to solid than bad, but I think it's pretty meh at this point. Calgary, they got Dustin Wolf, so it's at least a solid tandem. I believe their backup heading into next season is going to be Ivan Prostorov, the guy from Colorado previously, so that doesn't move me that much. But Dustin Wolf is like a top 13 goalie for me heading into next year. So I'm going to go with solid. Carolina, it's pretty solid. Freddie Anderson, if he can actually stay healthy for the life of him, I definitely understand moving them up to good, but he's a major injury risk. Kochetkov just hasn't taken the steps that we thought that he was a season or two ago to really get them into this good tier. They're closer to good than solid, but I think right now you got to go with solid. Columbus, it's really just going to come down to Jet Greaves. If he's legit like he was towards the end of last season, it's at least a meh one, but Merzlikins has been so bad recently. I think I'm going to throw them in bad as of right now. I might move them up at the end, though. Chicago, Spencer Knight was damn good for them with like a 905 on that Chicago team after he got traded, as well as Soderblom being pretty solid after a rough 2023-2024 season. He had an 898. He had like 2 goals saved above expected. So they actually have a pretty young, exciting tandem heading into next season. I don't think it's that good, but I think it's meh. Colorado has fixed their goaltending, man. Mackenzie Blackwood had a 911 last year, a 912 with the Colorado Avalanche. Wedgwood was also pretty damn good with a 908 for the Colorado Avalanche, and he was better than he was on Nashville. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good tandem. They've been able to fix it in the last like 12 months. Used to be Georgiev and Eustace and Nunin. Now it's looking pretty damn good. The Toronto Maple Leafs, this might be controversial, but I really don't think it is. When looking at it, I don't think Stolarz or Woll are top 10 guys. That's maybe a problem come playoff time, but they have been so damn good the last 2 seasons. Both of them. Stolarz that 1 year in Florida had like a 925. This year with the Toronto Maple Leafs, although he dealt with some injuries, was awesome for them. Joseph Woll just continues to get better as well. It's a great tandem. They have like 2 top 25 goaltenders. I think Stolarz is probably going to be somewhere between like 13 to 17. Woll, he might be 19, might be 20, but definitely a top 25 guy. So yeah, for a nice even split with the way that they're probably going to be next year, it's one of the better goalie tandems in the NHL, at least for the regular season. The New Jersey Devils, Markstrom was awesome until his injury. Then he kind of slowed down, but then he was very good in the playoffs. Allen was very underrated. I could argue them in great. I'm not going to lie. In terms of a regular season tandem, again, Markstrom wasn't in my top 10, but he's not too far off of it. I might move New Jersey up right now because Jake Allen was damn good last year. Do I expect him to repeat that level of season? He had like something like 16 goals saved above expected. No. Edmonton, they're in bad, though. Stuart Skinner had an 896 last year. Pickard had like a 900. In the playoffs, they weren't very good as well. I don't expect massive changes next year. I think Stuart Skinner's going to be slightly better in the regular season. But yeah, the goaltending with this team has been complete ass, and they didn't really do anything this offseason to address that. So yeah, they're in bad. Vegas not too far ahead of them though. Meh. Aiden Hill at a 906 this season. When looking at their backup, Samsonov was not good with an 891 this year. Goaltending is definitely the weakness of this team heading into next season, unless Aiden Hill has a big bounce back year. St. Louis has a good tandem. Last year, they were definitely in great when Binnington and Hoffer both had a 913. Hoffer had a bit of a down year. Binnington wasn't quite as good, but they're just a damn good 1A, 1B for St. Louis heading into next season. Definitely a top 12 to 13 tandem next year. Detroit, when looking at their numbers last year, they were definitely a good tandem in terms of Gibson on Anaheim having like a 911. Cam Talbot, his regular save percentage wasn't that good, but he was on a pretty bad Detroit team. They're solid. There might be some age regression from Cam Talbot. John Gibson, not the most consistent guy later on in his career. So I think solid is fine, but this tandem definitely has some serious upside, but they do have some downside in terms of the ages of their guys. Speaking of goaltenders, Sergei Bobrovsky, I expect to be pretty good. The backup is going to be Tarasov or Cormier, I think it is right now for Florida. So that doesn't really move me. That kind of keeps them out of great, but it's definitely good. Sergei Bobrovsky is a top 5 goaltender in the NHL. Dallas Stars, I think great. Jake Ottinger was number 5 on my list. Not to spoil that. I think he was actually in the thumbnail, so it's not really spoiling anything. And Casey DeSmith had a 915 this year for the Dallas Stars, as well as prior seasons being a very adequate backup goaltender. So yeah, it's a pretty great goaltending tandem heading into next season. LA, Kemper, 921 this season, was very, very impressive. Has been a little bit inconsistent year over year. The backup job, I'm not quite sure who it's going to be. It's probably going to be Anton Forsberg. He had a 901 this season. He was pretty solid. I'm going to put LA in good right now. I think Forsberg will be pretty solid in LA. And San Jose is going to be bad. They're going to be really bad. It's Ned and Askarov. Unless Askarov takes some huge step, which I don't really expect, like a huge step in terms of being like a good starter next season, it's going to be a pretty bad tandem. Montreal, Sam Montembeault is definitely underrated at this point. He only had like a 901 save percentage, but it was because Montreal's defense score was pretty bad. His underlying numbers were really solid. Is Dobish legit? That is the question heading into next season. Eventually, Jacob Fowler will be the backup to Montembeault, and then hopefully eventually the starter, and it will continue to climb the ranks. I think solid is fair right now. Montembeault's somewhere in my 11 through 20 for sure in top 20 goaltenders. Dobish is kind of a question mark heading into next season, but he is a lot. He could prove it. It wouldn't shock me one bit. Why did I just say San Jose? Nashville. UC Saros has had some bad years of late. Eustace Annunen was actually pretty solid on the Nashville Predators after he got traded, but I think solid is okay right now. Saros needs to bounce back in a big way. My New York Islanders is going to be Sorokin, and if Varley's healthy, hopefully he's healthy. If not, Big Save Dave is going to be the backup, but I think Sorokin is a safe top 10 goaltender, so I'm going to put them in good. Boston. Last year, they were ass. Korpisalo, Swayman had an 892. I tend to believe that Swayman is going to bounce back. I don't know if he's going to be Vezina level, but he should be better. Korpisalo, hopefully you can get an 896 out of him. I'm going to put him in solid for now. I might move them down. Philadelphia, they brought in a goalie, but they brought in Dan Vidar, who is an upgrade over what they had, but they had like one of the worst goalie trios in the NHL history last year. So it's going to be better. But even if I think they had like an 880 as a team save percentage. It was horrendous last year. They had like minus 40 goals saved they've expected. Even if Vidar's awesome and exceeds expectations, it's still going to be a pretty bad tandem. Tampa Bay. Johansson was actually pretty decent this year, but he's been way too inconsistent year over year. I think I'm going to put them in. Vasilevsky was fully back this year, and Johansson was actually at like an 898 in like about break even in terms of the underlying numbers. So I'm going to put him in great. Pittsburgh, it's kind of bad right now. They have some young guys. They have Blomqvist. They have the one Russian that I'm blanking on his name, Murashov, who maybe those guys take huge steps, but I'm not really banking on that. They did pick up Shilovs, who I think can be a solid like backup 1B, but they still have Jari. It's still a pretty bad tandem heading into next season. The New York Rangers, I'm putting them in great. I'm still very high on Igor Shesterkin, no doubt top 5 goalie in the NHL. Jonathan Quick did kind of fall off, regress a little bit last year, but they also have a kid in the AHL, Dylan Garand, that had like a 913 in 45 AHL games last year that looks pretty promising. So maybe he'll be the backup by midseason. And Shesterkin, I trust him to play 65 games and put up a 912. If the defense is somewhat competent, it was horrendous last year, but I think that's going to be improved. The Seattle Kraken, The Cord, I think he's kind of an underrated goaltender. Last 2 years has been like a consistent top 15 goaltender when you look at it. But Philip Grubauer is still the backup for next season. They're not buying him out. They're not moving off him. And he put up like an 878 last year, so it's still pretty bad. Minnesota Wild, it's solid. It's going to come down to Wallstead. Philip Gustafsson was within my top 10 goaltenders in the NHL after posting a 914 last season, after 2 years being awesome. Last year was a little bit of a down year. It's going to come down to Wallstead. Wallstead had an 879 last year in the AHL in like 30 games. He was dealing with some injuries after the prior year, being having a 910 in the AHL. So yeah, it's up to Wallstead. If Wallstead can be a solid backup, they're definitely move up to good. But considering how ass Wallstead was last year in the AHL, it's concerning. The Vancouver Canucks, I'm going to put him in solid right now. Again, massive volatility here because of Thatcher Demko. If he's fully healthy, if he returns to 2024 form, yeah, it's good. It might even be great considering he was the second best goaltender during that season, but he's had so many injuries and it's like the same stuff with his knees and all that I can't just bank on him being healthy, fully healthy next season. The Ottawa Senators, I think I'm going to put them in good when looking at it. Linus Ullmark has stacked just consistently good regular season numbers. Maybe the playoffs you want a little bit more. Merrilainen last year had damn good numbers. It was only like 11 games, and he was also pretty solid in the AHL. So I think that's going to be a pretty solid tandem. If Merrilainen's legit, they potentially could move up even more. Then we get the Washington Capitals, also a good tandem. At the start of last year, they were probably in great. The thing is, Lindgren did kind of come back down to earth. He had an 895 last season after that 2023-2024 end of season run where he had like the insanity run to get the Washington Capitals back into the playoffs. He's an okay, meh backup at this point. It looks like that was just kind of a flash in the pan. Logan Thompson's still awesome though, and as a result, they check in good. And then Utah, I think that this tandem could surprise some people. The problem is we don't know what quite to expect from Connor Ingram, considering he entered at NHL Players Assistance due to the fact that he lost his mother to cancer. Hopefully he bounces back because this tandem, Vejmelka was really good in 2023. Then Ingram was awesome in 2024, but Vejmelka was bad. Then this season, Vejmelka was very good. Ingram was bad. It's just been like a seesaw. So if both players can play good, it's going to be awesome. Like I hopefully think so. But until that actually happens, I can't quite put them in good. Here's the full tier list. I'm not even blocking off anything. This worked out pretty good. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this? Which tandems would you move up? Which ones would you move down? I'll be seeing the next one. What tier list do you want now? We've done forwards, we've done defense, and we've done goaltenders. I'll probably make an Instagram list of just like head coach and GM duos or something like that. But going forward, we got another, 2.5 months until hockey returns. So I need some ideas. Let me know in the comments what do you think. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.